I don't know, Halloween is just like a weird holiday to be dressing up as anybody else's culture.
You can say the same thing about any costume. Are you gonna tell a 6-year-old girl that she can't dress up like a pirate because she doesn't know the history of pirates? Like,
that's very different.
What?
I already know that everybody on this panel is about to be guilty. I know there's going to be some great white guilt in this panel. It's just going to piss me off.
White people have culture. 3, 2, 1.
We're all technically white. If you're from England, if you're from Australia, if you're from wherever, South Africa, you know, we all have these crazy places we come from and these people are around and we get those ideas from those people. But that doesn't mean us as a whole have no culture.
But as a white person, it's not really a culture. You can have culture, like I'm hella Irish, obviously, and that's a culture. But just being white is not it's not a culture. I can't relate to you just because you're white.
You can say that about anyone, you jackass. What, do you think that I relate to all black people? Do you think I can relate to some guy that lives somewhere in Africa in some village? In what way would we relate? Do you think I can relate to some gangster that lives in Chicago? What do we have in common other than the color of our skin? What kind of what?
Wait, I'm lost.
Like he pointed out that he's Irish. They have their own culture in Ireland, which they do. Scottish people have their own culture. English people, pockets of America, whatever. But then he said, but white people as a whole is not a culture. We can't just relate because we're white. But that is the same for everyone. That is the same for everyone. Not all black people relate. And I'm just using black as a premise because I bet you that's where they're going with this. I guarantee you that is where they're going with this. Do you think all black people can just relate just because we're black?
No, but I'm confused from the overarching point right now.
They're saying white people have no culture. Do you agree or disagree?
I don't know. I feel like they've gone onto spiraled out onto two different questions there.
How? What's the other question?
Not two different questions, but it's just two different, really different points.
How?
Do you think white people have culture?
Of course they do. Different parts of the world have different cultures that have different white people.
So that's what she's saying. And then he's saying, okay, but it's different cultures that have cultures. It's not just being white that's a culture.
Yeah, no, the question itself is phrased poorly because there's different parts of the world that have different white people that have their own culture. But what he said is that as a white person, we don't just have culture, right? Because we're white. That what he's saying is insinuating that people of other color do. That they're able to relate because they are a specific color. That's at least what I think he's taking it. Let's see what he says. That's what I think he's going with it.
If we were all black, could I relate to you guys if just because of the color of our skin?
Yes, because they go through very similar experiences, like they'll get discriminated against.
Right, you was right.
I fucking knew it. I knew it. Dude, like... God, I don't want to insult him. I don't know the guy, but he come across as a real jackass. We have different experiences. All of us have different experiences. What do you think? What, you think our culture is being stopped by the police? I bet you that's what he's getting at. I bet he's going to talk about oppression. I bet he's going to talk about the police. I bet he's going to talk about some bullshit like that. What, do you think that's black culture? Being oppressed or being stopped by the police or being profiled? I guarantee you. I know it might seem unfair because I'm making assumptions right now. I bet you any money that's where this is going.
Get discriminated against, and you're not getting discriminated against because of your skin color. They can both relate to that.
Fucking knew it. Knew it. I knew it. Those are the kinds of people that I would be more worried about, if anything. Because the way they look at us is this like feeble, oppressed a group of people that all relate to each other because of struggles that we face via the police or the education system or politics or whatever else it's going to be. I already knew what bullshit was going to come out of this guy's mouth before he even said it.
I believe in reverse racism.
First of all, before they answer, what the hell is reverse racism? There is racism and that's it. You're either racist or you're not. I already know what the implication here is. I know what they're going to get at. They're going to say reverse racism is when you are racist to a white person, as if you can't be racist to a white person.
Yeah.
Does anyone sitting behind their computer screen or their phone screen right now actually think you can't be racist to a white person? Are you telling me if I got a group of Latinos and one white girl and they all cussed her out for being white, that's not racist? Do you actually think it's always a systemic problem? Because that's something that I've heard from people. I've actually heard someone say it out of their mouth before, that you can only be racist if you are talking from a position of power. That is a load of bullshit. You can be racist to anyone, white, black, Asian, any color you can be racist to.
I grew up where it was completely like Hispanic culture. I was constantly made fun of because I was white. Oh, white people can't dance. White people look stupid, whatever. I mean, like, being honest though, like, they would say those mean things to me and more hurtful things than that. It's like a hard pill to swallow, because if I turned around and said, black people can't dance, I'd get hell for that. But then if someone says the same words to me, it's somehow okay, because
You have to look at the difference of it though.
There is no difference. If you cuss out a bunch of black people because they're black, you're racist. If you cuss out a bunch of white people because they're white, you are racist. There's no difference. You don't have to feel bad because you're white. Okay, drop your white guilt. It's pathetic.
And I relate to you. I grew up with all Latino or black friends. I had very few white friends. And yeah, I got made fun of for being like the white girl. I was gringa. And I didn't take offense to it, because the huge part about racism is that there's hate and oppression behind it. And as a white person in America, I do not feel oppressed.
Bullshit. Guarantee if this was a question about men and women, she'd say men oppress me. Guarantee you she's the kind that would say it. If you are raised in a part of the world where your color's not there and those people don't like you, it doesn't matter. Okay? Even if that's in America, you could be in a part of America where it's predominantly black or Latino or Asian and none of them like you. Just because you're in America doesn't mean that they can't be racist towards you. Like, you don't have to virtue signal because you're on camera. People can be racist to white people. You can be racist to anyone, right? They can be racist to Greeks, to Turks, to Arabic people, anyone. Doesn't matter the color of your skin.
When I think of the word racism, I think more towards oppression, so that's why I'm in the disagree. Like, I'll deal with someone just being mean to me, but whatever.
Yeah, but what point in human history are you talking about? Because the story of the human civilization has been about conquest and violence. At some point, every race and every color has committed some sort of like nasty act against another color. It's always been like that. The Greeks did it, the Persians did it, black people have done it, white people have done it. It's happened all throughout human history. Yeah, maybe because you're born into this day and age where I guess the most recent atrocity that you know of was against black people, which, you know, there's plenty of atrocities that happen all over the world. There's still a very, very high number of people that are slaves today. As a matter of fact, I heard that there are more slaves today underground than there ever was throughout human history. I don't know if that's true, but irrespective, it doesn't really matter. At some point, a black person has been oppressed, a white person has been oppressed, Mediterranean people have been oppressed, Middle Eastern people have been oppressed. It's happened to everyone. You don't have to feel a certain kind of way because you're white.
Do you know what, just to add on to that, I think that's what the problem is. I think when people are thinking of racism, they're literally just looking at it from those two angles. They're not looking at the wider picture of all around the world, all different types of racism, all different types of racism that can happen.
Yeah.
So that's what the issue is.
I think people are very narrow-minded, and they've also been pigeonholed into thinking that they can't say certain things because they're white and they might get cancelled for saying it. And look, I've got white cousins, pale white cousins. If somebody was picking on them because they're white, they would be a racist. And I would go for them because they're racist. You're telling me that white people can't be the victims of racism literally makes no sense. They are a type of people that exist among us. If everybody turned on them, what would you call that? Do you have to oppress someone to call it racism? I don't really understand that.
Focusing on race divides us. 3, 2, 1.
I think it's important to focus on race in order to bring us together. There is a race issue in America, and if we just avoid it altogether and pretend like it's not happening, nothing's going to change, in my opinion.
I kind of was thinking about the question differently, because if all I'm thinking about when I meet someone is, oh, I'm white and she's not white, and I'm white and she's not white, like, that for me, that's like what focusing on race is.
Yeah, we're never gonna be happy unless we just like all work together, just to like treat each other like each other. You know, like there is no race.
Yeah, and that sounds great, but it's like we're not there. We're not there. I feel like people who have that perspective might also say like, oh, I don't see color, or try to have that attitude. I don't think that helps anybody. I think we need to respect each other's backgrounds, and like that is only gonna happen if we do see color. We do like appreciate everybody's differences.
I sit in the middle on that one. You need to recognize things that have happened and parts of America or England or wherever you are that have problems, because there are problems that are caused by racism. However, I also agree with the white girl where she was saying, I'm not going in my day-to-day thinking, oh, this person's black, or this person's Indian, whatever. The problem there isn't race. The problem at that point is classism, in my opinion. Because if we take her approach, I think that would work. If we just see people for who they are and not the color of their skin, racism would go away because no one's really talking about it. Now, that's an idealistic way to look at it. I know people are deeply rooted in some of their hatred. They're both right, but the real problem for me has always been class and how the elites separate us and, put us in these little pockets. Racism is only really something that you see amongst people that have less. It's not really something that you see amongst people that have a lot. Those people tend to be classist. They don't tend to be racist. A black billionaire and a white billionaire will sit amongst each other and they'll laugh and they'll smoke and they'll drink and they don't see color because of their class. Oftentimes, racism is a poisonous mindset that is perpetuated amongst those that have less. I'm not saying that is an absolute thing. I'm not saying people that haven't had money have not been racist before, but at least in this day and age, I think if we went in our day-to-day treating people as individuals, not based on their color, a lot of progress would be made. And at the same time, we can also recognize that there's things that have happened that we need to not repeat, because it's very easy to get into the mindset of disliking a group of people because of something that you've seen online. We're probably never going to get away from the media trying to control the way we think, and we've seen the kind of things that they put out and the way they make us look at certain people. So yeah, I think there's a middle ground. That's probably like a whole other video that you can unpack. Yeah, I think they were both fair points.
Cultural appropriation is real. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I think cultural appropriation is very real. You see all the time, like Coachella, we're in LA and you see people in the Native American headdresses without knowing how important that is to Native people.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a difference between respecting the culture and completely disrespecting the culture. But then also, if you want to dress up on Halloween like a geisha because you like the costume, you think it's a beautiful costume, that I wouldn't say is...
I wouldn't do that. I think if you're gonna go and dress up as a geisha without knowing the importance of it and just being like, well, this is cute, like I'm gonna put this on. And also, even if you did know the importance and you're like, I don't know, Halloween is just like a weird holiday to be dressing up as anybody else's culture.
You can say the same thing about...
Oh, that's a load of shit. So what, you telling me I can't be a samurai now? You telling me I can't dress up as a ninja? Or I can't dress up as a pirate? Or what else is there? I can't dress up as a conquistador. I can't dress up as anything. That's nonsense. That is nonsense. Cultural appropriation is real. I've seen it happen before, but there's also cultural appreciation as well.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of the arguments about dreadlocks, and that dreadlocks have been a hairstyle that have been worn by several types of people throughout human history. It's not exclusively a black thing. It's not exclusively a black thing to braid your hair. It's not cultural appropriation to do all these things. Like, sometimes you can see something and be like, oh, I really like that. I want to do it. And it's not shitting on the culture or whatever. Do you think I'm going to be upset if a bunch of English people start dressing up like they did in ancient Greece? Technically, that would be cultural appropriation,
Yeah.
right? Technically, it would be. Do you think I care because my ancestors wore a garb or whatever they were called? Who cares? It's always people that have the most that care about the most stupid things.
You can say the same thing about any costume. Are you going to tell a 6-year-old girl that she can't dress up like a pirate because she doesn't know the history of pirates? Like,
That's very different.
well, so it's just like...
That's very different. Those are children.
What do you mean they're children? Parents dress their children.
Yeah.
The children don't go out and buy the costume.
That was irrelevant.
Oh, that guy is the I think he might take the cake for the stupidest contestant on here.
I should be able to say the N-word while singing along to a song. 3, 2, 1.
The only reason I might somewhat disagree is because a lot of my favorite rappers use it frequently. Like, if I'm listening to my favorite Childish Gambino song, which drops it like 100 times,
Right. I know. So
you know that
in the car, it's like
it's like I'm not sitting there thinking all these horrible things about black people, and I'm like, it's just in the song, and when I'm singing, it comes out.
There's like 2 different forms of the word. There ends with an ER and with an A. And like with my friends, they're like, oh, you can say it with an A, like that won't hurt my feelings.
So are you admitting that you say this word frequently?
She is.
No, I'm joking, man. I get where she's coming from. Like we covered this in a previous video. That word is an ugly word. And you sell songs to millions of people where you are saying this word over and over again. And you know a large portion of your audience is going to be white, and you're dropping the word constantly. Now, I'm not saying say that word in front of black people. Don't be stupid about it. But if someone's sitting in their car and they're saying it and they're not hurting anyone and they're not intending to hurt anyone, I'm sorry, but like you put the word out there. It's in your song. Songs were designed for people to sing along to and listen to. I don't really know what you want me to say. You want them to bleep themselves when no one's looking? You know damn well they're not going to. It's a stupid question in itself. Obviously, don't go out there and say the N-word to a black person. Don't say the N-word to a black person. If you're sitting in the car with them and DMX is on, don't start shouting the N-word just because DMX is doing it. But equally, if you're in your car and you're minding your own business and your favorite rappers decide to F this and F that and end this and end that, sorry, but like you put that music out there, it doesn't say only blacks purchase this. So I don't really have a problem with people. If you want to say it in the comfort of your own home, then it's none of anyone's business what you're doing. You're not out there screaming it in someone's face, are you?
Have you seen White Chicks?
Yeah, I've seen white chicks.
Seen them talking about.
Yeah, but they were under the impression those were white chicks.
No, but just the whole concept of they're in the car and then they're like.
Yeah. No, I remember the scene. But I found it funny because we all know that happens. We all know it happens. I know none of my white friends, you won't even admit it, but we all know it happens.
No, do you know what? I'll actually be honest, I don't do that.
Cap.
No, I actually promise you. Hand on heart, I don't do that. So with regards to this, like, yeah, I get the point of where she's coming from. And if she's singing it in a song, I don't think it's coming from a place of racism, but I still don't think she should be saying it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I get why people don't think they should be saying it. It's not that I think they should be saying it. My problem is more, we know who are going to consume these songs. It's not just going to be black people. It's going to be white people, Indians, Latinos, you know, whoever decides to consume it. If you're selling your song to the globe and not just Africa, not just the black parts of Africa, then sorry, but what do you expect? What do you expect? You think people are sitting in their rooms not rapping along to every single word?
Yeah.
Like, just be realistic about it. Accept that that's what happens and move on. Otherwise, don't use the word in your songs.
There ends with an ER and with an A. And like with my friends, they're like, oh, you can say it with an A, like that won't hurt my feelings.
That's what people told me.
But also, like, even when I'm in the car by myself, like, I still feel like it's not my place. Maybe I'll like whisper it like with an A.
Your friends are trying to get you killed.
Yeah.
Don't say it with the A and don't say it with the ER in front of other people. Especially don't say it with the ER in front of other people because we're going to think you're trying to lynch us. Don't say it at all.
I think it's still the same regardless.
No, but there's a way you say it. Like there's an unacceptable and then it's, you know, you're trying to tell me that you're going to do something.
No, I get that. Regardless of the meaning behind it, it's still the same word.
No, 100% no. Well, I mean, the context of it changes slightly with the ER. The hard R, when they hit the hard R, it's like an act of war, basically. I know it sounds silly, but it's like I've had friends say it in front of me. They think it's okay to say it, and I've had to tell them, don't say that. They're not white. They're like Pakistani or Asian or East, like Chinese or whatever, and they've said it. And I've had to tell them it's not okay. But they hit it with the A. So it's just like, A. But if they turned around to me and they hit the hard R, I'd have to pull the car over and be like, what's going on here? Why did you hit the hard R? Once you hit that slope, there's no coming back from that. But her friends are trying to get her killed. Don't say that shit in front of people.
It's a word used as my friend basically. And like, just like she said, if they want to take that back from its horrible origins, then I'm totally fine with that. But as a white person, you can't say that word without feeling a certain way.
Yeah, but I have a question. If they didn't put it in their songs, you wouldn't say it, right?
No, yeah, 100%.
So are they causing people to say that word more often? Because she wouldn't say it if
it's
it wasn't.
It's not white people's place to tell them what they can and cannot use.
Oh, dude, come on, man. You ain't getting no brownie pies, man. Calm the fuck down. She has a fair point. She wouldn't say it if it wasn't in the song. Now, it's not to say that she should say it, but we just need to be open and honest about it. You buy your favorite rapper's song, every other sentence has the N-word in it. We know they're going to say it. Like we just know. And we can't police that. So just accept it because you put it out there. And it's not that it's not that white people are telling us when to use it and when not to use it and if we can claim it or if we can't. It's just a reality that we do use it and rap music is some of the most popular music on earth, if not the most popular music. So a lot of the planet, when black people ain't looking, are going to be saying the N-word. I'm sure you've been around people that are not black that have said the N-word when they're rapping along to songs. You don't have to say any names, but we all know it happens.
I'm just trying to think now.
You don't want to out anyone.
I live a privileged life. 3, 2, 1.
It's so sad to say because I never say it out loud, but it's the truth, is like getting pulled over by the police. I always feel like I have a little bit of a one-up because I'm white, because I'm a woman. And I feel so bad that that's the truth, but this is a real thing and it's unfortunate.
For me, as an individual, I feel like I'm not privileged. Sure, like white people background came from like being higher up on the scale, but I've gone through really hard things before. You know, I don't feel like I'm superior over other people. So as an individual, I don't feel like I'm privileged.
I think privileged, I guess I don't really think that I'm above other people. I just think that naturally I'm treated differently.
Yeah, it's like perception. It's just perceptions.
Yeah, I think that's a huge misconception. I have privilege that I didn't ask for. It's just society sees me as like the standard for whatever reason, and because of that, I get treated differently. And white privilege, you know, like you said, it's not about what you've gone through or what you experience. It's 100% how the world sees me.
Do I think white privilege is a thing, basically?
Yeah.
I think so to some extent, yeah.
To some extent, but then, I mean, you could probably make that argument for a lot of different things. I get where they're coming from. I understand that. Like, I've been stopped by the police, but there's a couple of other factors for why the police would stop me. It is partially because of the way I look and the color of my skin, but it's also because we unfortunately live in an area where a lot of the crime is committed by black people. In this area, a lot of the crime, a lot of the gangs, a lot of the stabbings, unfortunately, not all of them. There are whites and Turkish people and Albanians and all that, but unfortunately there's a lot of black teens that do a lot of stabbings around here. A lot of cars get stolen. So I have to take that into account when I'm being stopped over by the police. I know why they're stopping me, because of the amount of crime that goes on in this area with people that look like me. Now, if you go down to Whitechapel or Bethnal Green, those are like brown areas. Those are places where you get a lot of like Pakistani and Indian and whatnot, and they're the ones that mostly get pulled over by the police because they're the ones that populate the area and they're the ones that commit most of the crime there. I'm not saying that they're criminals, but if you populate most of the area and you're the one committing the large sum of crime, you're more likely to be pulled over. I've been in those areas multiple times. I've never been pulled over. I've been down here and I've been pulled over several times. Now, luckily for me, my encounters with the police have been pleasant because I don't get angry. I understand why I'm being pulled over. So in this area, yeah, I guess being white, even if you are doing something wrong, you might have the privilege of getting away with it because a large portion of the crime isn't committed by white people in this area specifically, not in London as a whole. But there's going to be different places where you have inherent privileges because of external factors. I don't know where I sit on the whole argument of white privilege just as a default, because we've grown up around white people that don't have anything. You know, they're not privileged. They're in the same boat as us. And that's what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about the class system. It's more about class than it is about race. But there are places in the world where white privilege does exist. But then you can make that argument for anything. If we went back to Uganda, probably be black privilege. If there was white people out there, they'd probably, you know, be treated a little bit differently to black people, I'm guessing. So I don't really know where I sit on that one.
I am proud to be white. 3, 2, 1.
Just be in the middle.
Yeah.
Can there be a middle?
All right.
Gotta pick a side. Pick a side.
I don't know which side to pick.
Don't hate me, guys.
I almost went there too. It's like
I think
so
like
hard.
guiltily, like I'm like happy that I'm not oppressed, but I'm not proud of like things people have done in the past.
When I think of being proud of something, I think of something I worked for, or that I had to do nothing to be white, absolutely nothing, and nothing was taken from me because I was white.
It's like saying I'm a proud white person is a completely different saying than saying I'm a proud black person. Because when you hear I'm a proud black person, I think empowerment, I think strength, I think courage, I think, all these amazing things that the black community has done and accomplished throughout the years. But then when you say I'm a proud white person, already there's so much like hate involved in that.
Thing about that is like how you said, someone.
These people have clearly not picked up a history book. They are thinking in such a small-minded way. There's nothing wrong with being proud to be white or being proud to be black or being proud of your culture or your heritage. There's nothing wrong with that, because all throughout human history, it is soaked in blood. Anywhere you look, there has been some sort of conquest and some sort of violence. The same thing can be said, they give Christopher Columbus a lot of stick about going to America and killing all the natives that were there. But if you actually look into the history of where Christopher Columbus came in, he did come in and conquer that area and kill the natives and take over. But what do you think was happening before we got there? They were killing each other and taking over different planes. That much is proven, that is documented, that there were tribes that were killing other tribes, mercilessly killing them, doing all sorts of things to the women and children and taking over those areas. The same can be said about the samurai. There's a whole documentary on Netflix about the age of the samurai where they were going to different sections of Japan and just killing everyone. Japan was at war with each other for years, like hundreds of years before it calmed down. The story of the samurai is one that is just completely drenched in bloodshed. People have been doing this all over the place. To say you're not proud because of something that people did that share the same color as you as the reason why you're not proud of who you are is pathetic. It also downplays the idea that there's not people that are born white that have nothing. They are disenfranchised. And then if they work for everything that they've got, they still can't be proud. But even then, being proud I'm proud to be who I am, but I don't really ever put it down to my blackness or my Greekness or any other mixes that I have in me. I'm proud because of things that I've done as a human being. It's an odd thing to say, but I guarantee you, if you asked black people this question, they would be proud to be black, because there's no shame in being black in this day and age anyway. But we seem to be shaming white people for their existence, for people that were born in this day and age that have nothing to do with the things that happened back then. Absolutely nothing. And if you look all over the world, as I said earlier, there are slaves. There are places on the planet where there are still black slaves, and there's still white women that are sex slaves. There's problems everywhere. To say you're not proud of your race because of something that you've read in a textbook is ridiculous, because all types of races have been doing this shit. If they want to go about it like that, we can look at the Dahomey tribe, the ones that the Woman King is based off. That film is a load of shit in terms of historical accuracy. That tribe is the one that enslaved their own people. They enslaved their own black people and sold them off to the white Europeans. So what, I shouldn't be proud to be black now? It's just nonsense. This whole guilt that is being perpetuated in our society, this white guilt, white people feel like they need to say sorry for things that happen that have nothing to do with them. It's stupid. It's very irritating to sit there and listen to somebody, because they think that they're making you feel better by saying those things, and it just doesn't. It doesn't change the fact that those things happened. It doesn't change the fact that my ancestors were in chains. It doesn't change the fact that your ancestors at some point were probably in chains as well, or probably being gutted somewhere for their religious beliefs. Your female ancestors were having God knows what happens to them. Yeah. It's such a dumb mentality.
It seems like they feel like they're just trying to say the right answer, or the answer that they think everyone wants them to say.
Yeah, this is just, again, it's the guilt, it's the cancellation, it's the type of mindset and the narrative that has been pushed by the media, and people now feel this way, people that have nothing to do with anything that happens. All you have to do is be good to one another, and you can recognize history so it's not repeated. It's good to know where we came from. But every single part of this planet once had a different kind of person living there. And another kind of person came in with their weapons and their people, and they killed them. It's not just white people that were going around conquering and colonizing the planet. Although that did happen, and it was not a good thing, that has been happening all throughout human history. Like I said, human history is drenched in blood.